Hi, I'm here today with Brenda. We're going to talk about development and changes in Astoria.
Development and like what our idea of gentrification is.
For people who don't know that word, how would you define it or explain the context of what gentrification means?
I mean, when I started being interested in this was 15 years ago at least, and just really seeing how places are, that feeling of being comfortable in a place and not being comfortable in a place, and how like Starbucks could be a really good example. I've always used Starbucks because everybody always references it, like saying, "Oh, next thing is there's going to be a Starbucks come to town."
Oh yeah, and that's a milestone. So if I think I should look it up, but gentrification, I believe, refers to gentry. If you would have it's sort of a British concept, but the landed gentry were in. I mean, it's a socioeconomic thing. It means a higher socioeconomic class coming in to exert dominance through either property acquisition or in a lot of modern rental economies.
And that's how Starbucks comes in and takes away business from smaller businesses.
Or like what happened in the Pearl District, where it went from being like a drug dangerous alley to then suddenly really expensive high-rise apartments. But this one blog I read in Portland years ago described the Pearl District as Orwellian and capturing
Orwellian.
that sort of like it's a futuristic dystopia. And
it was cool. I remember that. It was like 2000, around 2000 or 98.
Which I don't typically use the word gentrification because I think of it as sort of loaded, but it often connotes displacement, also including across like what happened to the Black people in Northeast Portland that had already been pushed into one section of society and then got pushed out further as people gentrified.
Yes. And so now for Astoria and
how does that pertain to what's happening in Astoria?
Annie's.
I found a 2015 article by Derek DePlege defending it was evidently a new sign, which is this woman bent over in an A-frame shape with a lot of the contour of her body. And a lot of parents were upset when Annie's Saloon, which is the only adult entertainment place in Clatsop County, put this sign up. And so the Daily Historian, he's now the editor, Derek DePlege, wrote an article about it being a free speech protected activity. And parents were upset. But Brenda brought up the point that, it'll keep away the yuppies, or what did you say? Yeah, and I was like, it will, because it will be sort of so grotesque and offensive that people will think of Astoria in a sort of disparaged way.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really connote classiness in any way.
For a long time since I've been here, people put it down and say it's like, there was a time, and and that's what my experience of gentrification is the fact that all of a sudden I noticed, it was about 2 years ago, that Astoria was all of a sudden included in the news.
Yes.
I was like, they're telling us, and down in Astoria, here's the weather.
That's why I like feeding them info too, because I really get the feeling we are a satellite community to Seattle and to Portland.
We had never been talked about, and so I kind of was like, no, I don't want that kind of exposure. But really, it's like, what is the value in keeping financial things from coming in? Because then isn't it good, like trickle down?
Well, yeah, and there are pros and cons. So you're going to check on the cookies?
Yeah.
Okay. Pros and cons to the new energy coming this way. I see so many young people in nicely tailored clothes that are not typically worn by Astoria people.
I've seen them too, man.
And it's like a lot all of a sudden. One thing I read an article, it was about Portland is actually having an exodus. They're having a population drain. And I'm like, what? Did they just all move here? Or are they all living in campers and Airbnbs?
I know, and nobody's doing the numbers. Or maybe, no, they are.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing very many numbers around here.
Well, and how does the Airbnb demographic even compute in terms of statistical analysis? Do people live here or not? Or is everyone supposed to be completely nomadic forever? It's almost like it's sort of like the digital nomad. Like you're a web designer and you just pop around to different cities, and like how many people are going to stay? Or have I stayed too long?
That's another thing, right? Why don't you have a right to stay here? Oh, a lot of people are like, well, aren't you, working on your career? You want to move to the big city? Are you just like not? There's this notion that to settle down is
it's like
it's only for people who are a certain age,
Yeah,
I missed the rest of us are just meant to be. We're supposed to be building, but there's nothing.
Yeah,
to build on anymore.
move on or move out.
Move on, move out, and
or get it. Yeah,
all that is changing. That's not happening anymore.
Mm-hmm. So can I talk about your jewelry, Brenda?
Yeah.
Okay, so Brenda is hooking me up with this for this broadcast, and this is just super bling and super pretty. It's really pretty. I really, really like it. And this lovely piece, because I was saying I miss wearing rhinestones, which I used to wear when I visit my dad in the retirement home and sing him songs and just hang out with him, so we felt companionship. So
I got this from. Oh, I think it was a sale.
Beautiful.
It's very 80s, which I love.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
reused,
it's great.
Well, I bought that from a store. I think I bought that from like a clothing store in Portland, like not like a vintage clothing store,
Wow.
No, not vintage.
Great.
It's not vintage.
Oh,
It is a reproduction.
It is.
But
Yeah,
I like it.
Oh, totally.
Very
Repo.
Nice. It's repo.
Costume.
Repossessed.
Repossessed.
No, it's not repossessed.
So let's see where we are in our minutes of our little broadcast.
Is this
so
live?
This is 7. No,
Okay.
but we can stop it whenever, or
Let's stop it.
okay.
We can cut that out,
Thank
right?
you, Brenda.